welcome to another Untangled. You can see spring is in the air here, Jimmy. For those who are listening, I'm in a tank top, a knitted tank top, but we'll talk about it at the end. Good to see you again, Jimmy. Here we are for another episode of Untangled, your knitting and sometimes crochet question answer show. Here we go, straight into question one then, Jimmy, okay?
Let's do it.
I'm looking for soft cotton for face cloths. What do you recommend? That's from Michelle in Sudbury. Oh, just down the road, Michelle. That's nice. What do I stock? I've got some nice cotton on the shelves that's perfect for face cloths. Have you, just before we go on to say that, Jimmy, have you been down that rabbit hole of knitting face cloths?
I did one. I crocheted one, and I threw it away pretty quick because I didn't think it sudsed well. But so I'm relatively inexperienced with this. I have a little bit of an idea, though. I find as a craze, it comes and goes. But it definitely is a thing, and I do have customers coming in saying, do I have cotton for face cloths? And I've got two types, Michelle. They're all 100% cotton, but what you need to look for if you're going to go elsewhere for face cloths is to buy what I would call matte looking cotton. It's basically, the posh word is mercerized, and you don't want that mercerized. You don't want the shiny stuff, and that's how you can tell if it's mercerized. If it looks shiny and shimmery in the light, you want that bog standard matte. Think back to old photographs when we used to get them developed. You used to have gloss, didn't you, and matte. Obviously, Jimmy, you're far too young to know that, aren't you? I remember this. I'm not that young.
Do you?
Yeah, of course.
So definitely you just want the matte look, and that should be obvious. In my shop, that's all I have. So I've got two types. I've got 100 gram balls from James Brett, a really affordable cotton, because actually for 100% cotton, boy, the prices can go from affordable to really high end for 100% cotton, even though it's 100%, because it does depend on where it's come from, which factory has made it, how they've made it, and also the prep behind it, even back to the field. And if it was organic, which you're seeing an awful lot of now, and of course to have an organic farm, there's going to be higher costs on that. But the one I've got in my shop is a really affordable bog standard basic cotton in a variety of colours. We are growing that stock. £3.40 for 100 gram ball. Now granted, you're going to get probably a lot of face cloths out of a 100 gram ball, but I also have the little wee 20 gram balls that many crocheters use for amigurumi, which is a really simple 100% cotton, and I think they're like about £1.80 a ball, and one ball will get you one or two face cloths, and that's it. So you can then perhaps buy lots of different colours and then make a selection of face cloths. Now with the small 100 gram balls, what I find, and not the small 20 gram balls, the spin is slightly different, almost quite loose, where you can really unplay it. Some cotton is like that. You can see all the plies. It does depend on how it's been plied. So actually I think that one gives more of a, what's the word, like an exfoliating effect because of those plies. So they're the two that I've got in my shop. Michelle, you'll have to come down and have a look. What to recommend? I think I've just sort of covered that. Jimmy, have you got any ones you can recommend, or any brands that you know of at all that you've perhaps come across?
I'm not a big 100% cotton knitter. What I have heard is in the States they have like these cones of yarn, usually sold at a big box store, called Dishy. Which is not so relevant for our listener, but in general they have these dishy ones and they come in fun colors, and you're supposed to just be able to make a bunch of washcloths from them. They're not necessarily for face, but that's the idea behind those, and those are 100% cotton. I've seen those before. They look kind of fun. So that would be my other suggestion for this.
Yeah, because I think some people use the face cloths for like a flannel, and some are using them as scrubbies to take off makeup. But yes, try coming into the shop, Michelle, and having a try with that. And then let me know that you're Michelle. I'm thinking I know a Michelle. Maybe that's the person who I'm thinking of. Come in and say hello. I hope that helps. Yes, you're right, Jimmy. I'm not an often knitter in cotton. It's hard wearing, isn't it, on your fingers?
It is, but mostly the garment grows when you do it, and so that's what I find trouble with. I'm so used to like wool or protein fibers that the staple length of the cotton and the growth of the cotton is really what gets me in the end. It's quite heavy too as a garment.
It is, absolutely. But I suppose for a face cloth, it's perfect then, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to question 2. Question for Jimmy. Oh, there you go. For Jimmy. Any recommendations for favourite yarn stores in Amsterdam other than Stephen and Penelope? I'll be visiting Amsterdam in a few weeks' time. Oh, great. That's James. He's from Carterton in New Zealand. Go for it, Jimmy.
Well, have you ever been to Amsterdam? Have you ever gone to the yarn selection here?
No, I'd love to go because all those lanes and the canals and the cycles, that would be nice. But no, I've never been.
No, you should. It's close. It's good. You should come. Yarn stores. So there are 4 yarn stores in Amsterdam. I have been to 3. I haven't been to the 4th because it's only open during like regular business hours, so like 9 to 5:30 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's called Wool Boutique. I have my notes. Wool Boutique Sylvia, and that's in the Boston Lomer neighborhood. That's a little bit out more from the city center, and that's also on the other side of the city from me. So I've not been there, but I've heard some good things. There is Stephen and Penelope, which is owned by Stephen West. It's basically like his online shop, but in person. So there's a lot of hand-dyed, fingering weight sort of things. They do have some like Esayer or Holst, and right now there's currently a big sale on everything. That's right in the city center and what everybody calls the red light district. They're moving soon. I hate the location, so I'm glad they're moving. But,
are they moving out of that district then, are they?
Yes, they are. They're still going to be in the city center. They're going down to Haarlemmerdijk. And Haarlemmerdijk has another yarn store on there, and that is called Hooks and Yarn. Hooks and Yarn has a lot of Jamesons, but they also have, I would say, the most affordable range of yarn. So you can get stuff that it's a little bit more commercial and a little bit more like that, but they also do have like Malabrigo and names that you would recognize, and some fancy other ones if you want to go there.
So those 2 shops then, them and Stephen Penelope, aren't really going to be competing too much, are they? They can give the customer of Amsterdam and the visitor 2 different types of products. So that's good. That works well.
Yeah, you can hit 2 for 1, but that's in May. And then the other one that I have on the list is called the Off Stop, and that's in the Canal Ring, and it's a really pretty shop. It's a Rowan flagship store, so they have a bunch of Rowan. I always go there for my tools. They have like needles and a ton of Addy stuff. They have like Chow Gu sets that are really nice, and then they have more like yarns, less nylon, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I said, a ton of Rowan. They have the Marie Wallen collection too. They have Knitting for Olive. They have some Zauberball, that sort of thing. And then they have also embroidery thread. If you go upstairs, they have like a little room that they use for classes and stuff, but they have a bunch of like kits there for like old school like knitting kits. This is a very old school store where they have like a pattern and then like a bunch of balls for it, and it's I don't know, the pattern out of Rowan,
it's
out
a
of
bit like
1975.
Old school. Yeah.
Yeah. And they have a ton of magazines that you can browse there too. So I really like that one too. I think, one of the top ones that I go to.
Oh.
So that's my yarny woolly for Amsterdam. I will say, if you venture out of Amsterdam, I'm going to give a shout out to 2 other ones.
Yeah.
There's one in Den Haag called Crossing Woods Crafting Parlor. They have mostly yarn, but they also have a little haberdashery, a little bit of embroidery. They have some books, and I think a couple of other things. So that's really nice to go to. And if you go way down south, which I don't know if you will, but Dordrecht has a store called Rebel with a Twist that's supposed to be really good, and they have nice knit-alongs and stuff. So if you're in those areas, I would recommend it. And if you want to knit with people on Thursday nights, there is a knit night in the library by Central Station of Amsterdam that's pretty regular. So there are a couple of other things, but that's usually a thing to do. So if you visit Amsterdam and you're there on a Thursday that you have free, go and knit there.
Okay, James, let us know. We want to see pictures of you at one of those yarn shops, or if not all. That would be really nice, wouldn't it? We could show it on a later pod. And let us know what you think. Great, Jimmy. You'll have to send me all those links to those shops, and I can put them in the description below for people who are watching on Catch Up too, or perhaps maybe will be planning a holiday themselves. Then it can be a go-to. Great, thank you. Right, okay. Right, let's go on to question 3. Here we go. Do you have advice for fixing mistakes in half fisherman's rib beyond lots of lifelines and frogging back? Thank you, Sean. You're up in Norfolk in Cromer, not too far away from me. I've got a sample here prepped, but before I do that, Jimmy, have you got a quick answer to that?
I do. So half fisherman's rib is there are different ways to make it, but essentially what it is one side is brioche and one is a rib, like a 1x1 rib. And so it makes this really thick, chunky, squishable rib, which is really nice. I'm a big fan of it. And so what you're looking at there is one of the stitches is going to be sort of like a brioche stitch that you're going to have to work with, and then the other one is just going to be like a knit or a purl row, depending on what side you're looking at.
Yeah.
So depending on if you do the one row or the other row that you make a mistake on, I think that there are different solutions for it. So I guess you can demonstrate.
Yeah, sure. Because what did... that's that one. Let's go to the other question. What did Sean say? Advice for fixing mistakes beyond lifelines and frogging back. Yes. So we've got this swatch here because I thought I can try and teach a way so rather than whipping out your needles and frogging back, I thought I could try and teach the simple way of tinking, of knitting backwards, because Sean, that might help, because if you can tink backwards, you might be happy just to tink back 3 or 4 rows. Now, granted, I am doing it flat. Sean, I don't know whether you're doing it in the round, but we could still do it for knitting flat. So let's have a quick look. I am on the side, so I'm on the right side where I knit in the stitch below, which is fisherman's rib, and then I purl one, knit in the stitch below, purl one, knit in the stitch below. And if we just look at the concept, so when you're knitting in the stitch below, this stitch is just going to get lost completely. You watch. So I'm going to knit in the stitch below, yarn round, and there's the new stitch there. Don't look at my hook at the top of my needle. There's the new stitch being made, and this stitch, the top one, is just going to get lost. Boop. But if you looked at that carefully, it actually comes out of the stitch that was there. And I can reverse that one by just
pulling it back. So if I put my needle in there, I need to look at my stitch rather than the monitor. I've remade it so I can take my needle out as if we've never done the stitch. So you can see basically the anatomy of what's happening. That technically is a knit from the row the other side, because the wrong side is all a knit. So you're looking at a purl there. So in essence, to tink back, let's make that stitch again. To tink back, all you have to do is put your needle in the stitch, rip it off, and this stitch here has to become a purl. Now there are several ways you can do that. You can take the needle out, get a crochet hook, and just whiz it through, bung it back on. Okay, so you've made that purl again. Or what I do, because this happened to me several times and I had to learn the tinking, let's make that fisherman's rib stitch again. You can see that purl is going to come out. All I do is actually I just put my needle in the back and manipulate the stitch and then whiz it through, and it's back on the needle again and tink back. So shall we carry on tinking back? We've now got to tink back a purl, so that's okay, isn't it? Bring the yarn forward, put your needle in the stitch there, rip it off. So that's gone back a purl. Now we have to tink back another fisherman's rib. So let's do it the way where we take the stitch off. I'm going to save it by putting it in there, and then let's make it again. Remember, it's got to be a purl. So you can either do it like that or get your crochet hook out, pop it back on your needle. That's a bit more of a faff, isn't it? So, I've got to take back the purl. And you will, Sean, get quicker and quicker with tinking back, because what will end up happening, I think, is you'll just end up doing that with your fingers and getting it back on your hook like that. So that is what I would recommend from a tinking point of view. Jimmy, what would you say?
I'm a drop down type of guy. So if it has a drop down, that's what I'll do. Yeah. So like I said, and you pointed out on yours, the purls are always going to be the purls. So it's doubtful that you've messed out on the purl row, but if you do that, you know how to do it. You know how to just like pick up as a purl. You said on another one of the episodes when fixing brioche, which is very similar, like the way that the anatomy of the stitch of the lifted stitch that you did for the half fisherman's rib is exactly the same as a brioche anatomy of a stitch. So always go to the right side row. So like the V's, which is trying not to be inappropriate. And then you can go down with that. So like if you can figure out the stitches, you do that. What I tend to do as I go down the rows is I have the two stitches that combine to make that one stitch, and I put it on my left needle, and then I undo a row, and then I put it on the left needle, and then as I bring it back up, then I know what two stitches are going to combine to do that, and it usually works out well for me. All
right, well, let's have a go at that. I'm happy. I'm happy to have a go at that. Okay, so I think, first of all, let's tell Sean and everyone else perhaps where most people go wrong with fisherman's rib, because I can see it. I know what's happened. Where's my button? So we're doing fisherman's rib, and we're on the fisherman's rib side, not the knit side, aren't we? So we've knitted one below, we've purled one. So now I've got to knit one below. So let's do the fisherman's rib. I think most people make the mistake by forgetting to knit one below. So they purl one, and they're watching telly, and now they go and knit in the actual stitch rather than knitting in the one below. I think that's where the mistakes often happen. Sean, you'll have to let me know if that's the case. So if I just do this row, and then I'm back to knitting in the stitch below. So I think that's how the mistakes happen. You're busy going away and you forget to go in that one below. And let's finish this line off. And in the one below. And let's just have a look back and admire our work. And look at these lovely columns. Lovely columns. Ooh, just convenient that, isn't it, Jimmy? Look, I went wrong several rows before, and I think this is where Sean might be actually talking about. It's like, oh my God, why have I got that there? Well, it's because you knitted in the actual stitch rather than the knit below. So, shall we try and fix that? Let's do what Jimmy was saying and drop down. So I'm going to, rather than do a whole knit row, let's just scoot these stitches across to get to that messed up one, and we'll have a go at doing Jimmy's technique, which sure you might be, you could do what I was going to do and tink back, but that mistake is 4 or 5 rows down, so you may not want to tink that back that far, especially if you've got a lot of stitches. So okay, oh, and that was the mistake I made as well, wasn't it? Just in showing, it.
Double mistake.
I can fix that too. Okay, so we're just going to be brave. Let's come down a bit so you can see. And let's save these stitches by pulling the needle out. That's the beauty of doing it on a circular. You couldn't do that with a flat needle, could you, Jimmy?
No,
right.
I really hope this works too. Otherwise, my advice is terrible.
Right, so we're ripping back. So Sean, this could be you fixing your ribbing. Okay, we need to sort that annoying little bar out, because that technically needs to be on the back. Can you see that? Look, what do you I think Stephen West calls it, what does he call it? Like you're wearing a shawl or a scarf. He has got a certain expression, hasn't he?
I don't know.
Okay, let's call it a shawl. Look, or no, necklace. Look, the necklace is round the back there, and this person's got 2 necklaces round the back. Can you see it? There's the drop stitch. That's what it should look like. Let's keep ripping. And that's when you then go, oh yeah, well that's why it's wrong, because remember we went in the actual stitch. It's only got 1 necklace or 1 shawl on, because the other one, oh, I've got my crochet hook stuck. The other one is here at the front. So let's keep ripping back. That's the one we've got to get rid of, the little naughty one. So we're going to pull that out. There. Okay. How many people are watching going,
I'm in suspense. Will this work or will this be cut out?
Okay.
I guess we'll find out.
Right. We'll soon see, won't we? Okay. So we know that the 2 necklaces need to be at the back, but it's which order? And first, it's got to be the second necklace. Oh, get the crochet hook. So we're not going to pull this one up through to be a V. We need to pull the second one up, and then you just work your way up. Oh, these crochet hooks now I've got stuck in my jumper. So I'm going to go under, pull this second one up and through. It's that simple. Look, they're the 2 necklaces. Okay. Can you see?
That works.
Now, in theory, if we untwist this, 1, 2, remember the second one has to come through. So we're going to go under the first one. That's the first necklace. Let's pull the second one up through. Let's have a check. There you go. 2 necklaces. And now come up here. 1. Go under, pull that necklace up, and there it is.
Very good. I'm very impressed by this on the spot.
Well, it's your brilliant explanation. That's what it is.
I don't know about that, but That's similar to what I would do. I mean, it's hard to do when you all of a sudden say, go fix this Stuart, without any prep. But yeah, that's exactly right. And, you know, because you broke it down to necklaces, you could figure out the anatomy of the stitch and how it works. And I think that that's super important. Reading your knitting, knowing the anatomy of the stitch. And once you can figure that out, it's a pretty easy fix.
Absolutely. And then breaking down your knitting or fixing it shouldn't be a panic. So Sean, we bumped your question up because this question actually only came through yesterday, and I saw it and thought, oh, poor old Sean, if he's got to, if we don't put him in till 2-4 weeks, he might have frogged back, mightn't he? Or chucked it into the cupboard and never to knit it again. So I thought, right, let's try and get this fixed for him so we can carry on. I like doing that. I remember with the Stephen West Go-Go Dynamo with that brioche, I actually played around with the brioche and purposely made mistakes so I could read what is going on here. All right, I'm seeing this, trying to understand that process. But you're completely right, Jimmy. Know your anatomy of your stitch for sure. Right, okay, look at that. It's 1:30. Let's finish off talking about the knits that we're wearing. Are you wearing a hand knit there, Jimmy?
Of course I am.
You're much better than me at wearing. What have you got on?
I have a failed pattern, but it's a beautiful knit. This is my metaphysics sweater that I was making, the Antarja one.
Yeah.
I was going to have a double pattern with a bottom up in the round, and then I was going to have it marled. This is 2 different colors.
Lovely.
And I was going to publish it, but I did this, and I did not gauge swatch. And turns out the marl is a completely different gauge than my metaphysics. So I followed the pattern for the size that I wanted to do, and it worked. But it's a size like in between 2 sizes because of the gauge. So this is not going to be published, but it's my new sweater, and I feel all fancy in it.
Love it. I do like the whole marl thing, and it often goes through trends, but it never seems to break through, well, it's how it feels to me, and become really commercial. But I love that idea of holding 2 strands together, because you never know what effect you're going to get with how it sits on the needle, which yarn is at the front, and the effects you can get, especially with 3 strands, where you play around with dropping one and picking up another out of the 3 as you kind of fade up. It's a really cool technique, Marlene, but you're right. I suppose it will be a bit thicker.
Actually, this is thinner. It was surprising to me. Yes, it was one of those knitting for olive. They said that their 2 strands of fingering is the same gauge as their 1 strand of heavy merino, but it was not. So that's where this came in.
Oh, yes. They're 2 strands of 4-ply.
Yeah.
Yeah, their heavy merino is an Aran weight, isn't it?
No, I would say it's a regular worsted.
Oh, right. Oh, well, there you go. Well, it's still even thicker, isn't it? Because 2 strands of 4-ply, I would say, was DK. So, yes, it would. I get you. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It was a little different, but it's all right.
And
what are you wearing?
I am wearing, as it's spring and it's getting sunny outside as we record, this is the garment that I was talking about on our last podcast that I couldn't show because I'd left it at work, that I was saying I'm doing short row shaping on the shoulders because I didn't like the steps. Can you remember that? When I went to sew it together, the steps were like, this doesn't look good. So I ripped back, Googled short row knitting, Roxanne Richardson, and Suzanne Bryant, she came up too. And Patty Lyons, but I'm a Roxanne fan. They're all doyens of knitting, but I've been a long-term fan of Roxanne. She's got a brilliant video purposely made for not doing steps and doing them as short rows, and it was so easy to follow. And I've been chatting to someone in the comments on the last video about it. So I ripped them back, did my short row shaping. Then it meant I could do, can I move? Oh, hang on, I'm trapped. Then I could do 3 needle bind off. Look at that. How beautiful is that? Because all the stitches were live. So that was just wonderful. And that I have used this beautiful yarn from the West Yorkshire Spinners. It's called Fable. And if I come down to this one, another plug for my shop, Jimmy. It was released last September for autumn and winter. And I saw it at Cologne last year. And it's beautiful. Look at that. Falkland wool, British alpaca, and yes, you are reading that right, everyone. British mohair. Who knew we had British mohair in the UK? And look at that. So it is an Aran weight, classic Aran weight, but can you see the mohair fluff? I don't know whether you can see it. Oh my God, I'm a bit in the dark, but I'm going to stand up for you. Look at that fit.
It looks good.
Can you? I don't think you can see.
You're gonna have to hook me up with West Yorkshire Spinners yarn when I go to the UK next.
Do you know what? I think I might treat you and send you some. Yeah, because you deserve it for sure. And the pattern for those who are watching, if you're listening on podcast, I'll do it in just in case you run home and want to look. This is the pattern. Well, let's do this desk cam. It's called Winslow. I think I've showed this before because I was chuntering about women's stocking stitch tank top. I mean, a tank top is a tank top, isn't it? Really. Obviously, I didn't do it that short. So I ignored, I think they said knit to 30 centimetres. Well, that would have been like up to my belly button. So I obviously just knitted up to my, wherever I wanted to stop. There's no shaping in it. Look, it's just straight front and back, and then picking up the stitches, obviously for your rib, for your armband. The neckline. Now, Jimmy, talk to me about designing. I didn't particularly like the way the pattern was written because I wanted these sort of, when you do the shaping here, I wanted that nice run of V-stitch, a bit like, you know, you see those lovely V-stitches there. I wanted that going up along there, and the pattern didn't give that. So how do you get that nice sort of shaping line?
Well, I think if we look close enough, is this what you're talking about?
Oh yes,
Something
see, I
like
can
this.
see it.
How these?
Can you see those lovely V's that run up? You've got 2 or 3 there.
I think there are 3 there.
I love it.
That's a super easy modification. All you have to do for that is, let me get in the center. All you have to do for that is put your decrease in a different spot. So you're probably decreasing the last stitch or something, and then like knit one.
Yeah,
is probably what happened with that.
It was.
So when you do that, and this only works with like a single stitch decrease, because it you can't decrease 2 out. But like what you do is, let's say you want like 2 lines.
Yeah, at
let's
least.
say,
yeah.
of the V's going up.
Yeah, yeah.
So then you're gonna have your selvage stitch, and then you want your 2 lines. So you put your decrease before those 2 lines. So stitch like 4 is the decrease stitch.
Yeah,
and then that's going to help you get that nice little
where's my button?
Edging detail with everything. But that's only for like a knit, slip knit, or a knit 2 together.
Yeah, so you could see the decrease was the stitch before, and it was just, what it meant is it was just too close. So when I came to pick my stitches up, it's like, I can see that little lovely V, but it's just too close to the selvage, and I actually had to lose that. I went 2 in because there wasn't enough to make that a nice, neat. You might still. You can kind of see a little bit. Oh, which way? Where's my finger going? A little.
I know, it's right. It's hard, right?
And you can see it there. I think just where I tried to save it, but I struggled. Right, perfect. So if I'm going to do that again, I will then, so rather than knitting to the last 3 stitches, knitting 2 together and knitting, oh, sorry everyone, knitting to the last 3 stitches, knitting 2 together, knitting 1, I would probably, as you say, shunt them so at least the last 2 or 3 stitches are knitted, so that the decrease has happened a long way before.
Yes.
That's simple. That's simple. Okay. Because I think I would do this again. I really enjoyed it. It was a simple knit. And sometimes the simple knits are the best, aren't they? You know, a stocking stitch, I could wear it like this. I could have a nice shirt underneath as well if I wanted to look a bit smarter. I won't use the word that Jimmy said to me when he first saw me. Though I think it's your turn next week to look a bit more summery.
All right, we'll see what we can do. But I mean, that's what's great about the simple knits, because you did the different shoulder shaping. You can do a different neck shaping, and it's like super low risk. The pattern's pretty straightforward, so you can put your own design aesthetic, your own little tricks you want to try on top of it, and go for it.
The designer in me may be coming out. Maybe. I'll just stick with that. Okay, that's my next little creative designer job there. Knitting this again and getting those lovely, I want those 2 tram lines for sure. Brilliant. Thank you, Jimmy. Great show. Look at that. 35 minutes. Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening. And all the links will be in the description below, as well as the link to send us your questions if you've got a knitting and crochet question. Until next time we meet, it's goodbye from me, Stuart, from the Wool Patch.
And me, Jimmy, from Jimmy Does Knitting.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Bye.